Today I'm going to show you the fastest way I have found to generate transcriptions and captions using Premiere and After Effects for, in my opinion, better stylizing and potential animation for stuff that you may want to make. So with all of that, let's go ahead and start in Premiere. We have a clip that I want to transcribe. Let's assume that you already have an edited sequence, but if you don't, let's go ahead and make a new sequence by clicking on our footage and dropping it into the little paper thing there. And now we have a clip that we need to transcribe and add captions to. First things first, we need to get access to the text tab. So the text tab is going to be somewhere on your window, and if you don't see that, you can go up to Window and Text right here. I already have it docked right here, so I can just put that there, and now we can see that we have 3 tabs under this transcription text tab. We have transcript, captions, and graphics. So right now we cannot generate captions because we don't have a transcript. Premiere has not used AI to listen to and transcribe the footage, so we could start in the Captions tab and click on Create Captions from Transcript, or start here, click on the Transcribe button or the 3 dots and generate a caption there. So I'll just start here in the Captions tab and create captions from Transcript. From here, you'll get this window. This window is basically saying, hey, do we have any defaults we need to follow? Do we have any preferences for the length of the captions that we're going to generate? So I'll set this to 18 just because I don't want it super long for things I'm making for social media, and then I'll set the lines to single. We also have our transcription preferences here, and under this tab we can see that we can set the language if we're speaking another language. I'm assuming we're speaking English if you're watching my face, and then we don't have any different speakers, so I'll just set this to no. But if you had multiple speakers, Premiere could detect that. And let's just go ahead and click transcribe and create captions. Now you'll let the computer do the thing, and when it's done, you'll have a caption track, which it's done. Amazing. That was pretty fast. So now we have our captions, and we can first do some edits. I will add that when you go through the caption tab, it does generate all of the captions by default. So you will have to go in and change things manually here. So if you needed to make edits, you would click on the transcription little text block right there and then double click on the caption and be like, this word is wrong. This is using some sort of AI trickery that is way above my pay grade, so I do highly recommend checking your work, making sure that the transcription and the captions are accurate before you move on to the next step. Now, if you're using the Captions tab here, you'd update that there, but if you use the Transcript tab, you can also go in and double click on the transcript text block, and from here you can go ahead and make any changes that you need to and then regenerate your captions if you wanted to. But with all of that, let's just say we're ready to move on and start styling this. So there's a couple ways to do that. First, in the Properties tab, and if you don't see the Properties tab here, you can go up to Window and Properties. We can see that we have the ability to select all of our captions here, and then we can change the text type or the font. So I'll just set this to, I don't know, Proxima Nova. That's just kind of my default. And then I can change the font size. I can make it bigger. I can bring it up and down. I can also do things like change the color, change the stroke, add a background to it, etc. So a lot of styling options in Premiere, but in my opinion, these styling options are less flexible. They're kind of garbage in my opinion. So with all of that, we're going to bring this stuff into After Effects so we can make it easier to style this. So to do that, we're going to select all of our captions and then go up to Graphics and Titles. Under here, we're going to select Upgrade Caption to Graphic. That will basically take all of these captions and convert it from a subtitle object to a text object. So now we can go ahead and start manipulating this a little bit more. We could add effects to it and all of that. But what I want to do is I want to bring this into After Effects and have complete control over the styling, or maybe do more advanced animation, because the animation tools in Premiere are hot garbage. So with all of that, let's first off look at a couple things. We have our clip in our Adobe Premiere, and what I want to do is hold Control on my keyboard and left click on the timestamp here until we get 0, because now we're looking at frames. And the reason why I want to do that is now I can see that the text comes in at frame 50. Remember this. Now whatever your text comes in at what time, just remember that frame number, because now we're going to go into After Effects. First thing what we're going to do is we're going to select everything in our Premiere timeline and hit Control C. We're going to copy it. Fun fact, if you go over into After Effects and go into a pre-comp wherever you're working, and you just have a pre-comp there, and then you select a folder, I have a pre-made folder right here called Caption Dump, and I'm just going to select my timeline and hit Control V. The fun fact is you can paste from Premiere into After Effects, and amazing, all the stuff that we had in Premiere is now in After Effects. But there's one problem. First off, we have our video footage, which is awesome, great. So if you had a bunch of clips, this would come in as like just a giant sequence of clips. You'll have to do some cleanup and start composing that. So what I would recommend you do is if you had a bunch of clips, you first go ahead and select all your clips, and then hit Control-Shift-C on the keyboard, or right-click and pre-compose, and we can just call this Clips Tut, whatever you want to call it, just to make things a little bit more organized. Now you'll notice another thing, and that is all of the text inside this pre-comp is basically in their own pre-comp. So if I wanted to make changes to this text, it's annoying because I have to go in, I see the in and out point of this text, and it comes in, and the anchor point's also off in the middle of nowhere, which is, again, kind of annoying. So how do we fix all of this? Well, first off, I do highly recommend a free plugin for After Effects, and that free plugin is called Uncompose. And the reason why it's free is it's a name your own price. So I have supported them. I highly recommend you support creators, but you can do whatever you want. So you could just go in and be like 0 and add to cart and move on from there. You may do whatever you want, but I do recommend this plugin for this workflow. So that being said, we're going to go to our main pre-comp where all of the text layers that we see is pasted. So we're going to select all of the text that we had. We're not going to select the clips tut because that's where all my clips are. And we can see in my project bin we have all these pre-comps for the text that we just brought in. But if you go up to Layer, Uncompose, you're going to get this dialog box. This is asking, hey, how do we uncompose this? And I highly recommend checking delete source after unprecomposing, whatever you want to call it. We don't need to change anything else here. So let's click OK. And after a little bit, now we have our text all in a sequence, which is amazing because now what we can do is we can take all of this text and then hit Control-Shift-C on the keyboard to pre-compose the captions. We can call this tut captions. And now we have pretty much exactly what we had in Adobe Premiere, which is our caption track, and then we have our video clips under that, but it's all in pre-comps in After Effects. Now the benefit about this is now I can start adding effects blanketly to the top of this captions effect pre-comp thing. So let's go ahead and, I don't know, add a bevel alpha. Bevel alpha or bevel edges, which one is it? Not that one. It's bevel edges. Pretty sure it's this one. Yeah, there we go. So if you wanted to add this kind of effect where it kind of looks a little bit more 3D, you could do that. And the reason why is because it's all in a single pre-comp. But if we wanted to adjust the text, we could very easily do that. So this text effect, in my opinion, looks like hot garbage, but that's just a demonstration of what you could do. So what I would want to do in this scenario to actually stylize this and make sure it aligns with the video I'm working on is, one, I would find a font that best aligns with the video, or just use whatever font you want. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and clear the effect I just added, and I'm going to go into the caption pre-comp. We can see here that it does start at frame 49, frame 50, close enough for now for this tutorial. I'm going to hit Control A on the keyboard to select everything, and I'm going to right click and go to transform and then center anchor point in layer content. You could also do what I do, which is Control Alt Home, which will set your anchor point to the center of that text. Amazing. So now I can take all of this with everything selected and just drag it down and put it exactly where I want it to. Could go back and forth and check the positioning if you want, or you could set some guides, however you want to go ahead and set your position of your captions. But let's say I wanted to go ahead and change some additional properties. I could go in and change the text blanketly by selecting all of this stuff and, I don't know, setting the font to Montserrat. Actually, that's a pretty cool looking font, and the reason why I like that is because it has that almost like fantasy-esque look to it, because it's a serif font. I think it's a serif font. Anywho, let's say we wanted to go with this type, and then if we wanted to make this even more easy to read, we would use something called layer styles or effects. I prefer using layer styles. So with that, we have our captions pre-comp here. Right click, go to layer styles, and then we can start adding a bunch of different styles to our text and our captions to make it pop and stand out more. So one of the things I always like to do is I don't like setting my captions to be pure white all the time. I like using a gradient overlay, and it's incredibly subtle. So for example, if I go into the layer captions gradient overlay and click on colors, I can go ahead and set this white to maybe just slightly off white, and then I can set this one to a much darker white, but it's still kind of white, and I will flip these, and it's really subtle, but it's those little details that can help things stand out a little bit more. Another thing I would do from here is I would right click layer styles and add a drop shadow, and now we have our drop shadow effect, and I can increase the opacity so it stands out a little bit more, increase the size, maybe increase the distance or decrease the distance, so now it's a lot easier to see. And then the last thing I often see in social media videos is they will add a stroke to their stylization. Now, I personally don't like strokes all that much, but it really depends on the branding and aesthetic that you're going for. So with this stroke, I'm going to go ahead and select the color, select maybe this dark blue, and then bring it much darker so it really just stands out. And now I will just increase the size of that, like so. And then if I wanted to animate all of these captions, theoretically, and I'm not going to do this for this tutorial, if you do want a follow-up tutorial, I will show you how to animate every single one. But if you needed to animate a specific text, you could just very easily go into the properties of these text layers and animate them individually. Or, again, if enough comments, I will make a follow-up tutorial on how to animate this stuff with expressions and all of that. But that being said, this is how I would create captions for social media content moving forward, and this is pretty much how I've been doing it, using that plugin Uncompose. It saves me so much time, and I'm not sponsored by them, but it's just something I discovered and was like, you know what, more people need to know about this. So I will leave it there. If you learned something, let me know in the comment section down below. Questions, comments, concerns, whatever else, comment section is down there for that as well. And as always, I will leave you with the final tip: 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight makes gains. Goodbye, my friends. Bye.